Good evening and welcome to ITV News. This is Monday night's calendar.
Hello, good evening. Here are tonight's main stories.
The soaring cost of caring. With the energy price cap going up, Samantha says she'll struggle to pay for the electricity, keeping her son alive.
Getting a projection of my next direct debit, which is due up at the end of this month, being nearly double what it is now, I just am so scared that I can't give him what he needs, that this could create a situation where I can't keep him safe.
Meanwhile, is Labour's honeymoon already over? As the Chancellor tells Britain there are tough times ahead, in Barnsley people are already feeling the pinch.
When we go to buy food, we just get what we want. There's no extras.
I think a lot of people are struggling at the moment, to be honest. I don't think the government particularly helping.
In sport, the final bell looks to have rung on Josh Warrington's career. The Leeds Warrior lays down his gloves after a bruising defeat.
And I'm at Ashgate Hospice in Chesterfield, where two very special visitors are making people's day. You are?
Thank you for joining us. A mother from Doncaster who every day cares for her severely disabled son says she's terrified about losing their home when the cost of energy goes up next month.
Samantha told me son Lewis has an extremely rare form of Batten disease. So rare that only a handful of people in the world have been diagnosed with it. And Lewis needs a range of equipment, including a ventilator, to keep him alive. But his mum says she's losing sleep over whether she can afford the electricity needed to run it.
Next month, the energy price cap, which controls what most households pay for energy, will rise by 10%. Samantha is backing calls for vulnerable families to receive more support, as Emma Wilkinson reports.
In their home of 15 years, Samantha is always by her son's side. But to help him live, Lewis also relies on a range of machines you might normally see on an intensive care ward.
Well, Lewis is on his ventilator now. He's on his humidifier, which I think is probably the thing that uses the most electricity. It's like having a kettle running all the time. And as long as he's inside, that's running. And then the SATS monitor's running all the time while he's inside, so that we can know how he's doing. So there's a lot of electricity running all the time. That's all to do with just Lewis's life support.
Lewis has a rare type of Batten disease, an incurable degenerative condition. Up until he was 2, Lewis grew and developed as expected, but then he started to limp, and soon he'd lost the ability to walk, talk and swallow. Now, aged 20, he needs the support of constantly running equipment, and the energy cost is met by Samantha, a cost that already required sacrifices, and one she says is now set to rise considerably.
Getting a projection of my next direct debit, which is due up at the end of this month, being nearly double what it is now, from £243 to £675 a month, that was actually terrifying. And so you think all sorts of things. I was thinking, I won't be able to pay the rent, we're going to lose our home, where are we going to live? It's so difficult because you think we're so grateful that our family member is here, so grateful they're at home, but at the same time, don't leave us in a position where we're struggling to keep them alive at home, because we can't afford it. I just am so scared that I can't give him what he needs, that this could create a situation where I can't keep him safe. Get this one out your mouth, darling.
Lorraine is a community nurse and sees firsthand the strain some families are under trying to pay for life-saving equipment at home.
I'm just hoping that maybe a social tariff will come in and, bridge that gap. Because at the minute, it's tragic, really. It's just extra stress and more worry, and they just don't deserve it.
Samantha doesn't want to go into debt. She's paying what she can and cutting back where she can. But she worries about whether it will be enough, all the time trying to hide that worry from Lewis.
I tend to have my moments in private, in the bathroom or in my room at night when no one can see me. He keeps me going. He smiles and he laughs and he loves life. Every night I say to him, I love you. I'll see you in the morning, I promise. And that's his promise to me as well, that he'll still be there in the morning.
And while Samantha pours all of her energy into caring for her son, she lives under a cloud of anxiety about whether she can afford her next energy bill. Emma Wilkinson, ITV News, Doncaster.
Yes, a terribly upsetting situation to find yourself in. Well, campaigners for people living with disabilities and those who care for them say the financial pressures of rising energy prices this winter will leave many like Samantha in an impossible position.
One of the measures they're pushing for is a social tariff which would offer discounted prices to reduce the burden on those most vulnerable households. Well, earlier I spoke to Anna Bird from Contact, which is a charity for families with disabled children, and I began by asking her what difference that could make.
It could be really vital to introduce a social tariff. It could make a huge difference. There are about 100,000 families with critically ill children in the UK, and many of them are using kind of, life-saving equipment every day, kind of washing more, heating their homes more, and it costs a lot. So in this time where energy prices are sky high, a social tariff would make a huge difference to families and could be the difference between, sort of getting by this winter or really struggling to pay the rent, to heat their homes, to put food on the table.
Because we've seen in our report the anguish it's already causing. How many cases do you know of in which people are losing sleep and they're frightened for what's to come?
Yeah, I mean, we run a helpline at Contact and we speak to families every day who are struggling to pay the bills, and the energy costs are one of the biggest things we hear about. As I said, there's 100,000 families in the UK with critically ill children. Some of those will be, like Samantha, having to pay for extraordinary amounts of equipment in their homes. And it is really frightening for families. People are, facing crisis. They really cannot afford the basics. So a social tariff is one way of dealing with this issue. We on our helpline help families to maximise their benefits, claim what they are entitled to through the benefit system. It just doesn't go far enough, so we need to tackle the problem at source and ask energy companies to bear some of this burden.
How quickly does that need to happen, and what needs to happen?
I mean, we're facing a winter where bills are rocketing. We know that the energy price cap has increased by 10%. So it needs to happen now so that families have comfort this winter that they're going to be able to afford the bills. And I think this new government has an opportunity to introduce something quickly that will make a huge difference to a small number of families, but families who are really facing the most significant issues.
Okay, Anna Bird from Contact, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks very much.
You're watching Monday Night's Calendar with Ian White and Lisa Adlam.
Yes, thanks very much for being with us. Still to come tonight, that sinking feeling. This howler for Huddersfield saw the Terriers slip to a 3-1 home defeat. That and the rest of the sport coming up. But first, a man has been charged with murder following the death of a 42-year-old man in Doncaster. Sheldon Jameson was found injured in an alleyway between Apley Road and Whitburn Road in the Hyde Park area on Thursday morning and later died in hospital. 36-year-old Jason Hale appeared before magistrates in Sheffield today and was remanded in custody to appear tomorrow at the city's Crown Court.
A hearing has begun today to decide whether Yorkshire Water customers could be in line for compensation over sewage discharges. The company and 5 others has been accused of underreporting the number of raw sewage discharges they've made into canals and rivers, allowing them to charge customers more than they would had they reported an accurate number. Yorkshire Water has denied the accusation.
We have provided all of the funding for 35 years for them to meet that legal obligation. So ultimately we have the situation, have these companies been profiteering? Have they made that investment? Have they underreported? And it's a really good question to be asking, and I think it's one that needs to be answered. Where's our money gone? What happened to it? And when can we have a refund?
Well, next tonight, the Labour Party is celebrating its historic general election win at its annual conference in Liverpool.
But with the recent cut to winter fuel payments proving unpopular with unions and some members and a difficult budget on the cards for next month, it's a bittersweet celebration.
Well, our political correspondent Charanpreet Kaur is there now. And Charanpreet, what is the mood like?
We'd expect it to be jubilant, wouldn't you, after Labour's historic victory and landslide in our region, including winning seats like Scarborough and Whitby and Shipley that had been considered a long shot. But sipping champagne at the same time as announcing a tough cut to winter fuel payments really wouldn't be a good look, especially as the Labour Party is signalling that there'll be more difficult decisions in the autumn budget, and as a result, many around the country are already dreading it.
Welcome to conference, our biggest conference ever.
This should be the Labour Party's time to shine. After 14 years in waiting, at last, a return to power.
This year, we're now in power, in a place to make decisions and finally change the country.
We've waited a long time to be in government, and now we've got the opportunity to change the country, and there's a lot of great ideas and initiatives being spoken about here. So yes, it's really exciting.
But far from popping corks, there's a cloud hanging over this conference. The prospect of a bleak budget dampening the festivities. 90 miles away in Barnsley, it feels like the start of a tough winter.
When we go to buy food, we just get what we want. There's no extras.
After the budget, mostly everything goes up. And I feel sorry for people because they're not on pension credit.
The money that they're going to, it's disgusting what they're doing.
I think a lot of people are struggling at the moment, to be honest. I don't think the government particularly helping people on low incomes. They're not really doing out for them.
Back in Liverpool, Labour trying to put on a brave face, but not everyone is convinced. The trade unions wanted to table a motion on winter fuel payments in there today. The Labour Party delayed that. They want to keep the mood up, but they can't control what happens out here. And this protest shows the issue isn't going anywhere. Addressing the conference as Chancellor, Rachel Reeves dug in, defending her unpopular decision.
I will not duck those decisions. Not for political expediency, not for personal advantage. Faced with that £22 billion black hole that the Conservatives left this year, I judged it the right decision in the circumstances that we inherited.
Her speech was interrupted by a protest. Security shut that down in seconds, but Labour has found it harder to shut up some of its own MPs.
The point I do want to make
Richard Bergen lost the whip after voting against his party on the two-child benefit cap and winter fuel payments, but he won't back down.
I'm very concerned that we don't make the mistake of not having a complete fresh start from 14 years of failed austerity. Now and then, every government makes a mistake. In this case, I think it's on the winter fuel payments. I urge our government to think again.
With their huge majority, Labour might try to drown out dissent, but there may be a limit to how many unpopular decisions this government can make before it starts to feel like the party's over. Jananpreet Khera, ITV News, Liverpool.
Thanks very much to Sharon Preet. Well, from politics to sport now, and could this be the end of the road for one of our region's greats?
Xero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
Well, and Chris is with us in the studio, and sad to say, Chris, it did look as though the end could be in sight for Josh Warrington after that defeat on Saturday.
It did, didn't it? Yeah, Lisa. As you can see, hopefully soon we'll be able to see Josh laying down his gloves in the ring after losing to Anthony Cacace at Wembley on Saturday night. Now, that's a third straight defeat for the former two-time world champion. It looked like the old Josh had come out to play at the start of the fight, landing this uppercut in the second round. But as the contest wore on, Cacace got into his groove. The judges scoring the fight in Cacace's favour. Josh has taken to social media today to say time for a little rest and reflection and decide what's next. Well, earlier on I spoke to the former world champion Johnny Nelson, who was at Wembley on Saturday, and started by asking him if laying his gloves down in the ring was a symbol that the time is up for Josh's boxing career.
You know what, he's a true warrior and knows that's the history of our sport inside out. And for him to do that, it's him sort of surrendering, look, I've given my all is no longer enough. So him laying his gloves down, he's basically said, I've done everything possible. I've trained right, slept right, prepared right, and it's not enough. It's not that something went wrong, it just wasn't enough. So that's when, if you're an honest fighter and honest with yourself, you will not you're not state of party. You're no longer welcoming.
He has done Yorkshire proud. He's a two-time world champion. Do you think it's right he calls it a day after 3 straight defeats?
I think it's right he calls it a day. Not after 3 straight defeats. I think it's right he calls it a day. That the fact that at this level in his career, after being a 2-time world champion, and if you go in there and as I said, you've trained to the best of your ability and everything right, no injury free, but your best is just not good enough. I'd like him to walk away, because I love seeing our fighters, ex-fighters that walk away on the healthy side of our sport instead of the sport leaving you.
And if he does decide to walk away, what legacy will he leave?
Well, he's put Leeds firmly and truly on the map. He's a people's champion. I think he talks the game well. I think he'll either be a really, really good coach or even a great pundit, because he's very articulate, very matter of fact. There's no airs and graces. He is what you see. And that's why he's so endearing.
He worked with Guy Ritchie a couple of weeks ago on that fantastic promo as well. He said he might fancy maybe acting. He might be back here in our studios in Emmerdale.
He's a good-looking fella, so why not? I can't see why. Guy's never asked me. Thanks, Guy. Listen, it's a case of, as long as he's still got a twinkle in his eye, he's still got ambitions to do other things and create a forging of a career, why not?
Johnny, thank you so much for your time. Look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thank you.
Yes, the thoughts of Johnny Nelson. Let's talk about football now, Chris, and a very nice gesture from a Sheffield United player over the weekend.
Yeah, Gus Hamer revealed this shirt after scoring against Derby on Saturday with Maddie Cusac's initials and number, the former Sheffield United women's player who took her own life a year ago. The goal itself was a great tribute to Maddie anyway, who also worked at the club in the commercial department. It was actually a Derby County fan, the team the Blades were playing. Elsewhere, new £11 million Leeds signing Largi Ramatsani got off the mark and celebrated in style as Leeds beat Cardiff 2-0. And Sheffield Wednesday looked to have won it at Luton thanks to another collector's item from Captain Fantastic Barry Bannon. But then it was a tale of 2 handballs, one given, which also saw Wednesday defender Deschamps Bernard sent off, and then Carlton Morris score the penalty. Then one not given, as Morris appeared to control the ball with his arm before smashing in the winner. Now stand by for one of the worst own goals you're likely to see from Huddersfield Michael Hellick. A lesson in looking where you're passing the ball. That pretty much summed up Town's afternoon, beaten 3-1 by Northampton. Now Darryl Clark got the response he wanted from his Barnsley team after their 7-0 hammering at Man United in midweek. A stoppage time winner from Stephen Humphreys beating Burton 2-1. There was another late goal for Mansfield in their 2-1 win over Shrewsbury. Aaron Lewis scoring 4 minutes from time. Rotherham were beaten 2-0 at home to Birmingham. There were no winners for us in League Two. Tom Anderson's header rescued a point for Doncaster at the MK Dons. It also finished 1 apiece between Chesterfield and Cheltenham after Spirax keeper Ryan Boot failed to put his boot through the ball. Bradford drew 0-0 with Wimbledon and Harrogate were beaten 3-0 by Crewe. Meanwhile, today Leeds have announced plans to increase the capacity of their Ellen Road Stadium from 37,500 to 53,000. No specific timeline has been given for the redevelopment, which includes the north and west stands, but Leeds say once complete, it'll be the 7th largest club stadium in the country. Leeds also say they've employed specialist acoustic consultants to ensure they don't lose what they describe as Ellen Road's unique atmosphere.
Now then, we all know how time spent outdoors can make us feel so much better, but not everyone is lucky enough to have their own outside space, and that is where community gardens play an important role.
Yes, and now those green spaces can bid for a share of nearly £250,000 to help their neighbourhoods thrive through the National Garden Scheme. It raises funds from people opening up their private gardens to the public and is now looking to redistribute that cash. Nick Smith has more.
Everyone should have a chance to reconnect with nature, and shared gardens like the kitchen garden at St Paul's Church in Leeds offers the public a chance to grow their own food. Last year they successfully won funding from the Community Garden Grants programme.
It has made a huge difference. When we first came into this place, it was wall-to-wall grass, so we had nothing to work with. We needed tools, we needed compost, we wanted to do things like put water butts in, have cold frames. The fund covered
most of our startup costs and made a huge difference to having a really good garden that can do a lot more than it would have done otherwise.
Community gardens can be more than just a place where locals can refine their horticultural skills.
That's it. All right. There we go. Looking lovely.
We've all had rough times. Past couple of years my mother's been suffering from breast cancer, and it's a bit of an escape in that regard. We're so detached from nature nowadays, where we live in big cluster communities where we might not always have the time to go out, appreciate the beauty of the British countryside. It's a beautiful place for mental health, working on the plants, meeting good people, making new friends.
Kathy Lehman founded this garden and helped transform it from wasteland into a thriving hive of activity.
Like most charities, we really struggle for funding. So being able to apply for the National Garden Scheme awarded us funding to be able to build raised beds, which are hugely important because they're accessible for everybody. It's a great scheme to get involved with. They give us a lot of support and it opens doors to look at further things and opportunities you can do.
Bids for this scheme are open until the end of next month, giving other little pockets of nature dotted around our neighbourhoods a chance to make their own little improvements. Nick Smith, ITV News.
Very nice too. Now, talking of all things therapeutic, you've probably heard of the benefits of swimming with dolphins. But what about, Lisa, cuddling calves?
New one on me, but that is exactly what the patients at Ashgate Hospice were given the chance to do when a pair of brown Swiss cows, only 4 weeks old, turned up to deliver them a bovine boost.
Well, Adam Fowler was there to witness the day Bonnie and Bella came to visit.
Barely a month old, and these twin calves have been brought to Ashgate Hospice in Chesterfield to visit residents and outpatients. It was hoped they could bring some joy to those in the most difficult of circumstances, and it didn't take long for them to do just that.
Oh, bless you.
The cows made you happy today?
Yes. Yes. Oh, bless you.
The highlight of the day.
Oh, they're fabulous. Do you know what a place this is?
It's amazing. I mean, who gets to go out and do arts and crafts and cuddle a calf in the same day? I mean, it's just incredible.
I bet you didn't think you'd be meeting a cow today, did you?
No, not when I'm doing crafts, but you never know we have to get hospice. You find anything and everything.
Aren't they cute?
Couldn't work it
No,
out.
I haven't got a bottle either, darling. We've got nothing, have we? I think they're gorgeous. Don't we, Vinny? Hey, we didn't expect this. So it's lovely.
It's a real treat, isn't it?
Yeah.
And of course, it wasn't just the patients who were delighted to meet 4-week-old Bella and Bonnie. The staff were just as excited.
Hello, sweetheart. Beautiful.
We've had pony, we've had lambs at Easter time, we've had some guinea pigs that have come, so yes, yeah, and we encourage animals to come in to see our patients. It really does support the well-being. We love animals on the ward, we all do.
The animals were brought by Rob Pearson from Newgate Farm, who has a personal connection to the hospice.
My mother and my niece was in here a few years ago and they got cared for very well. You got anything else in the pipeline? You can be back again? Well, we have been asked to bring some piglets down, which would be disastrous, I think. I don't know. Slightly less well-behaved piglets. Yeah, impossible.
So perhaps piglets in the pipeline, but for now, it's a job well done for Bella and Bonnie. Adam Fowler, ITV News, Chesterfield.
Oh, bless them. All creatures great and small down at Ashgate Hospice, indeed, apart from piglets.
I would love to see the piglets there, wouldn't you?
It'd be quite funny. I'm not quite sure it would necessarily go down to. Not very calming, I don't imagine.
Well, they wash their hands afterwards, that's all I'm saying. That's all about cows for now, but let's get the weather forecast for cows and everybody else. Here's Nick Miller.
Good visibility on the horizon. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Hello. After the rain first thing this morning, actually today we've avoided the worst of the wet weather, but as dreary, cloudy Mondays go, this one really has excelled. And we're not done with the rain just yet. What pushed north from us overnight has been really soaking across parts of northeast England, will pull away back across us through the night, but be weakening as it does so. So we are going to see a bit more rain in the forecast. And with that in mind, there's still a Met Office yellow warning in force until midnight, with a risk of disruption from the heavier bursts. Low pressure then will pull away, and we have a bit of a quieter day on through the day tomorrow. And for much of Wednesday until later Wednesday, the next area of low pressure comes in, and it will be turning wetter and windier for the second half of this week. So as hinted about earlier, what pushed north will come south and east again overnight and into tomorrow morning. So we are going to see some further outbreaks of rain and still plenty of cloud, mist and fog over the hills, and temperatures holding for the most part in double figures as we kick off a rather grey and gloomy Tuesday morning still, and still a few showers around. But notice how into the afternoon in particular it brightens up. We'll still need the umbrella. There'll still be a few showers moving through, but overall a much brighter afternoon tomorrow and temperatures up to around 17 degrees Celsius. I do want to show you, with the temperature in mind, the air mass chart for later this week. And we've got low pressure in charge, yes, but as that clears by the end of the week, we're drawing the air down from the north, and it will be turning colder as a result. So between now and next weekend, there'll be further rain, there'll be stronger winds as well, but notice that downturn in temperatures going into next weekend. That's your latest weather.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
There you go, rain, wind, dropping temperatures. Autumn's definitely
Not the news
here.
we wanted, Lisa.
It's autumn, what can we do?
Bring Kerry back, that's what I say. That's all for now. I'll be back at 10:30. Mary's next. Have a good evening. Good night.
Bye-bye.